What's up, y'all? So this is a video that I've been wanting to make for a very long time because as I observe the state of many Christian men in our society today, there's just some things that we just need to stop doing if we say that we want to be men of integrity. Now, this is my own personal list, and if you have some that you are guilty of that I mentioned, do us a favor if you're so bold to put it in the comment section. If there's some that I left off of this list that you want to add, put that in the comment section. And just in case you may think that I'm picking on the men, in my next video, I'm going to come back and talk about 5 things that Christian women need to stop doing. But today, the focus is on the men. So men, are you ready? Let's get into it. Okay, number 1 is inappropriate interactions with women. Now, I had to get this one out of the way early just in case you don't watch any more of this video. But check this out, guys. Whenever I go on social media and I start seeing men that I know, Christian men, pastors of churches, liking pictures of women on social media, when those women are dressed provocatively, my brothers, that has to stop. And let me explain what I'm talking about just so I can be very, very clear. I'm not talking about a woman who is with her kids or she's serving in ministry or she's getting ready to release a book and something pure and something like that. Yeah, press like, that's cool. I'm not trying to be legalistic. I'm talking about those pictures where you see that woman and she is super fine and she's got some sort of her body that she's trying to accentuate or whatever, or she's dressed in a way that's kind of scant, and you press that like button, brothers. Let me tell you, just because you like it up here doesn't mean you need to let the whole world like it for 3 reasons. Number 1, you are sending a message to that particular woman to let her know that you find her attractive and that you like what you see, which is not something that you more than likely want to do, specifically if you're married. Number 2, you're sending a message to the entire world because people can see, particularly on Instagram or Facebook, who is actually liking these pictures, and so they can see, oh, Pastor so-and-so liked this picture, Pastor so-and-so, so Pastor so-and-so must be a pervert, he must like this particular picture of this girl, so that's also not a good look. But then number 3, it could send a negative picture, or should I say message to your wife or your significant other when she might be on there noticing that you're pressing like on all these beautiful women's pictures on social media. Fellas, it's just not a good look. That's the first thing that we need to stop doing. Now, while we're talking about these inappropriate interactions, it's not just online. It could be offline as well. For instance, flirting with women in public or gawking at women as if we've never seen certain body parts before whenever they walk by, or texting women on your phone that you are not married to and you know that you shouldn't be having these inappropriate interactions or conversations with them, or a private chat on social media that more than likely you wouldn't want your wife to see how you're interacting with this particular person. Listen, guys, if you are in a relationship, whether married or single or whatever, there might be some phone numbers that you need to delete from your phone because it is not only disrespectful to the person you're with, it's also not a good look to the person that you're interacting with if you say you are a man of God. Number 2 is finding our identity in our work and our possessions. Listen, fellas, when we start to put our careers in front of other very important aspects of our lives, like relationships with other people, our ability to serve in church, or our time with our family, or our ability to be a present father or a loving husband, that means that we are getting our affirmation in areas that God does not intend. Whenever we start boasting, whether verbally or just in a most subtle way, whenever we start talking to people and we start telling them about how much money we make or what neighborhood we live in or how high up we've been able to ascend into the corporate sector or whatever. We know how we do whenever we put certain things out there in conversation that may not sound to other people like it's boasting, but in our heart, we know what we're doing. We're trying to kind of one up or compare ourselves to other people. And it's just a sign, fellas, that we are getting our affirmation in our careers other than God. The Bible says in Proverbs 27, let someone else praise you, not your own mouth, a stranger, not your own lips. Listen, people should be shocked whenever they find out what type of house you have, what type of car you drive, how much money you made last year, and all those different things, because you should not be the one telling people about your accomplishments and your possessions. It should be something, if people find out at all, that they find out in some other way. So be careful that we don't make our career our place of affirmation. Okay, number three, I'm going to talk specifically to my single brothers out there, and that is misleading women that you are dating. Now, first and foremost, if you are not actively trying to pursue a wife and you're not trying to pursue a woman and you're single, then you shouldn't actually be complaining about being single, because you can't expect God to do all of the work and just send this woman to show up at your doorstep with a sign that says, hey, I'm your wife. So that's the first thing. If you're single and you're angry because you're not married, it might be that you're not putting the effort forward to actually try to pursue someone, because there are a lot of good women out there. But for those who are pursuing, guys, we need to make sure that you are not engaging a woman's heart in a way that is going to be damaging for her, because most of the Christian women that you meet, they are looking for a man who is ready to make a long-term commitment, i.e. marriage. And if you know in your heart that you're not ready for that, then guys, you don't need to date, you don't need to pursue, because all you're going to do is set this woman up for disappointment. So you need to be very clear about your intentions whenever you meet a young lady, and then follow through with those intentions so that she has the best experience with you, because she's already been messed around with all sorts of other guys in the world. And it's a tragedy whenever she finally meets a man who says he's a man of God and he treats her the same way. Number four, I've talked about a lot before, but I've got to bring it up again, guys. And that's the fact that we've got to stop watching pornography. I don't know how clear I can make it, but guys, let me explain. First and foremost, whenever you do that, you are messing up your own self-confidence, because you're comparing yourself to other men in the world. And in your mind, you're going to be thinking, hey, if I can't perform on the level that I see this guy performing on the screen, then that means that I'm not a man. And you're defining manhood based on what you see on the screen, which is a faulty way of defining manhood. Number two, it's also destroying your spouse's self-confidence as well, because if she were to ever find out, she's now going to know that you are comparing her to someone else that's on the screen, and therefore she knows that she'll never be able to measure up to some sort of professional actress who's getting paid to allure and to cause men to lust on the screen. And as a result, my friends, that can have a damaging, devastating effect to any woman's self-esteem. But not only that, you are actually supporting and championing, if you will, an industry that traffics and objectifies women. You are filling your mind and your spirit with images and videos that very well may take years to be erased from your mind and your memory. So guys, I know it's difficult. I know this is an addiction for many people, but it is something that you've got to get a handle on, because it's not only damaging your relationship with yourself, your spouse, the outside world, but it's also not a good look if people see that you are doing this, or they find out that you're doing this. And it also damages your relationship with God, because now you don't feel like you can be authentic with God, because you feel like God is ashamed, or excuse me, that you're ashamed in front of God, or that God is disappointed or displeased or angry with you. And so guys, we need to get a handle on that. That is the fourth thing that men just need to stop doing. And the fifth and final thing that every Christian man needs to stop doing is being a passive leader in our homes. So let me break this down by category. Number one, financially. I'm not talking to the man that's working hard, who maybe their wife makes more money than them. That's cool, no big deal. I'm talking about that brother who is content simply living off of his wife or his girlfriend's financial situation, and they're not really actively working to try to better themselves or to be the sole provider or the primary provider in their home. So not only financially, but spiritually. I'm talking to the man who is basically trying to pawn off all sorts of spiritual leadership in the home to the woman, when God has called us as men to lead our families and to lead our children spiritually. We are supposed to be the primary spiritual leader and not pawn that off to our wife. But not only being passive financially and spiritually, but also romantically. So many times, guys, we pursue a woman romantically, but then whenever we get them and we get married to them, we stop pursuing them. And then we wonder why our wife does not want to be intimate with us. It's because we are not creating the environment that she may feel most comfortable and most emotionally connected to us, so that she can respond to our advances. So we need to make sure that we're not just being passive, waiting for her to create the environment, but we need to be active and intentional about building these environments. But not only financially, spiritually, romantically, but also emotionally. Fellas, We need to make sure that we are not damaging our wives with our words and criticizing every little thing that they do and devaluing them by dismissing their ideas when all they're really trying to do is simply help and fulfill their role to try to be a loving and supportive spouse to us. And then finally, fellas, domestically, check this out. We don't just need to sit around and be passive and then pawn off everything that needs to be done in the home to our wife, because that's the old school model. Listen, just because your wife may or may not be working a corporate job doesn't mean that she is not working just as hard, if not harder than you, taking care of the children and trying to be a good homemaker. And then for us to come home from work and then expect her, who's been working all day with the kids, taking them back and forth and doing all those things, and then she has to cook, she has to clean, she has to get the kids bathed, she has to get the kids down, then she has to keep the house together, and basically we just sit down and watch ESPN all day. Fellas, that's being a passive leader in our home. Our women need us to not only step up in financial areas, but they need us to step up in domestic responsibilities as well. So in other words, fellas, to sum this last point up, no more marriage without maintenance. So fellas, those are my 5 things that I just personally believe, this is my list, Alan's list, that we as Christian men just need to stop doing. Now remember, in the next video, I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna deal with the women, and I'm gonna talk about 5 things that every Christian woman needs to stop doing as well. So stay tuned for that video. And once again, if you have any that you want to add to this list, or if you're bold enough to say, you know what, hashtag I'm guilty, put it in the comment section below. Hey, if you found this video helpful in any way, feel free to share it with a friend. If you haven't done so already, I would love it if you would subscribe. Check out some of the other videos on this channel. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time on The Beat.